You're listening to the Light Overtime podcast with David Sargent and Korey Bartos. It is March 15th, 2026. I would say that hopefully it's getting out of the cold area, but you have a storm, and
you're telling me we're halfway through March already?
yeah, it's halfway through March. It should not be as brutal as it has been. We had a little window of nice weather, then we had some cold weather, then we had some hails and some storms. We had a devastating tornado in Union City, Michigan, followed by some in Illinois and stuff, so that's pretty crazy. But climate change isn't real, so yeah. We are kind of jam-packing a bunch of stuff into this episode. Should be kind of cool. We have a photo share at the end and a handful of things to talk about. So I'll kick off today because it's an afternoon episode. But I have this Mundo from Traverse City Kenyan coffee that I have just been slaying all of my drinks with. I made a cardamom syrup this week. That's delicious. But I can't do wrong. Any kind of pour over, all of my shots. Elle said it was the best cortado I had made in months. So yeah, it's a really good coffee. It's up there with I always talk about this Hyperion I used to have, and then that Portugal that I just had. It's up there. It's with those coffees.
A little bit about it, because I remember you getting it, but I don't recall what the notes were on that one.
I can't remember. It's like clementine, something else weird.
Clove? Was it
clove? I think, yeah. But it's they said it's fairly acidic. I reached out to them because I said this coffee is incredible. It's genuinely one of the better coffees I've had in a while. It just is really flavorful. I remember when I first got into making real coffee, I got a Kenyan coffee from somewhere that I don't remember, and I loved it. And then this one just hits so hard. So, yeah, relatively acidic, especially if you kind of mess up your shot, if you're pouring espresso with it. Really great for like Chemex and Kalita Wave and stuff like that. But it's, whew.
Yeah, Kenyas tend to be right up there with like the most acidic coffees you can get, and if you like that, well, acidity is what brings flavor to coffee, so that's it
turns out good. I really like acidic coffee.
You know what, I have had this conversation with so many people at the cafe who thought there's some negative connotation to acid in coffee, and for a lot of people, like with acid reflux, like that's a real thing,
right?
So you can steer towards low acid coffees, but some people think they like low acid coffees until they try a Yerga chef or like some Ethiopia or something and go, oh, this actually is my favorite, and I'm like, oh, you like higher acid coffee then,
right? Because
they learned something about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where you're getting kind of the more citrusy, like all the gnarly, like I would say when you're steering away from earthy and you're steering away from like bold and things like that, it's generally the acidic coffees that have those like, wow, this doesn't taste like any of the coffee I drink.
Correct.
Vibes, without getting into technical notes and stuff. But anyway, yeah.
It's fun, always fun navigating those conversations with customers. I'd like a low acid coffee. Well, that cuts out half of our options. You probably should try this though, and if you try it, you're going to include high acid coffee back into your into what you think and you want. So it's fun to do that with customers sometimes when they have the time. I am drinking a decaf Americano, iced with a little splash of milk in there. I just got done with my actual espresso and Coke over ice, and that was delicious.
Nice. That was crazy to me. I've had plenty of espresso tonics, and I've done the sparkling water, but you posted that in your story, and I was like, what? What kind of, did you just use like a normal can or bottle of Coke, or did you have like a glass bottle?
In the cafe, I did a can of Coke, and I do think there's something about a can of Coke that hits harder. But I had 20-ounce bottles here, and I used about 8 ounces of it over ice and espresso.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
Heck, good. Yeah. So getting right into kind of my first light topic, Sony did a firmware update to the 200 to 600, which is kind of like unexpected. I didn't really expect them to do any changes. Allegedly, I haven't really experienced any major changes yet. It has some benefits to the A9 when focusing for like 120 FPS. So it should have some improved autofocus, but then it also apparently improved IS with the A7R5, which is interesting. I don't know if that trickles down into any other cameras. I know that the A7R5 has like the 8 stops, like the higher stops of things. But I haven't noticed anything super crazy yet, but I also haven't gotten into like small birds and things. But
Yeah.
I really kind of hope that I'll notice some kind of a difference in it picking up the birds that I struggle with occasionally and things like that. So once we get into spring here,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful, because if
And
I have any kind of improvement in autofocus, that will be delightful.
and be patient because you got to wait through the period of time where birds are easy to see before the leaves all start hitting the trees, and then once the leaves hit the trees,
Yeah.
then the real trouble starts.
Yeah, then it gets brutal. But
Yep.
between spring migration, going right into my wedding, and then going out west and everything, I should have quite a lot of opportunity to utilize that. But yeah, I'm excited. I haven't done a ton of birding. I have a couple of photos that I could share really fast that we'll get
Yeah, if you'd
into
like.
before we get into other stuff. I found with Elle an American woodcock.
Yeah, man,
In
cool.
fact, we found multiple.
Mhm.
And this is a very awful photo. This is 1/30th of a second. This is 1/40th of a second at 600 mil at 20,000 ISO.
For sure.
Um, but we got him, and we
You
heard him.
did.
We heard him meeping all over the fields. We saw a few like jump up and like fly right over our heads. It was super cool. I hadn't ever like played around and found these guys, but
Now
it
let
was a
me
treat.
ask you. You've got this bird now, so it's in Berta, whatever. You've got it checked off the list. What is your drive like now to want to go back and get better shots of that, or is that non-existent?
That's kind of where I'm at with birding, is like this was not satisfying to me,
Okay.
but Elle couldn't really get one. The A6700 was struggling with her 100 to 400, so she didn't get a good shot of them. I don't know how I'm gonna get a good shot of these things.
Yeah.
Like this is dark. This was like I
Mhm.
could barely see. I saw a little bit of him fly over to the ground, and that's when I started looking at it like through my camera, and manually focusing at that point, because it's just like doing that slow pulse back and forth trying to find what it's doing.
Well,
um
what you do have is knowledge now. You know where to look.
yeah.
And you said 1/40th and 1/30th of a second. I don't think it would be impossible for you to try and crank that down to like, I don't know, a third of a second, tenth of a second, get a bunch more light in there.
Well,
Maybe just a little bit later in the day, just so a little
m-
more lights, you know.
my move is to use the 70 to 200.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We were getting fairly close to them when they were flying
Okay.
around and zipping and stuff. And I think if I have, from 6.3 to 2.8 is huge.
Yeah, yeah.
And that lens is very fast. I could even probably use the teleconverter if I need a little bit more reach and be at 5.6. That'll give me a little bit more room as well. Um, but yeah, it's they were cool. It was a sweet little thing.
That is cool. I've never seen them before. I've heard them and they've always been on eBird for me, but I've never been able to see one. So that's cool.
Yeah. I'm not really doing the Berta thing, I think, anymore.
Yeah.
I think what I want to do is I want to collect what I have currently in Berta, put it on a physical list, and
Mhm.
then what I want to do is add new lifers to that list, and then
Yeah.
just have a bunch of checks for when I see them again, like other
Nice.
birds. Um, because at this point, like if I get a bunch of photos one day and like none of them are good, I don't even want to put them on my computer. I just have so
Right.
much so much photography with work and everything else that it's like I'm getting bogged down by like tons of bad images that I'm like searching for these little birds and stuff. So um we're
Yeah.
we're balancing
You
that
know,
out. And then I'm doing video now too. I'm trying to get more video of these
right.
birds. So
I think last year for me was just constant dopamine hits with new bird, the list filling up with new species. And this year for me, it'll be a much slower approach.
yeah, for sure. And it's good. Like Elle still really gets a huge kick out of finding lifers and stuff like that. Like
Oh yeah.
we think we found some tundra swans mixed in with some trumpeter swans. I'm not sure. I don't know that my photos were good enough. I'll have to look at hers and stuff. They were pretty far off, so we couldn't get any closer, which is a bummer. But like, it was still cool because like we drove out there a couple times. We're like, we want to see these tundra swans, just to
And
say we
did you
did.
also say snow geese?
We didn't find them. Oh no, we
Oh,
did. We did actually end up finding them. Two of them in like a neighborhood's like little pond lake thing. Didn't get anything
cool.
good. Awful
Yeah.
photos. They were like sneaky. We would like go around the lake and we would try to like find them, and they would just be like, "We're gonna go over here then." Actually, super frustrating, but we did see them a few times, so
Okay,
that was
good.
good. Other than that, not a ton of birding. I've been doing a lot of stuff with work, which has been fun, but I didn't want to. I don't know. That photography isn't kind of the inspiring stuff that I want to bring to this. So like, if something new and cool happens, I'll bring work stuff in here. But
Sure.
otherwise, I have been doing a lot of portraits of my cats with my 200 to 600. Because it
Nice.
kind of lives on my A9, and when I just get good light and stuff, I'll do that. But we have these fake flower arrangements kind of strapped to our railing right now because Eleanor's sister was kind of building them out for our wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and so they just are a fun little foreground drop for my kitties. But
Mm-hmm.
throw some.
Very
Never
nice.
underestimate your long lenses if you're
No,
hanging
not at
out
all.
and wanna take photos of your family or your pets. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, a good wrap up for like what I've been up to with photography and um, kind of what's going on. But let's talk about your lenses.
Well, hang on. Did you do any video with the woodcocks at all?
Oh, not a chance. Not
Oh,
even
okay.
it.
I wanted to hear the meep if you did.
Oh, I wish. No, it was literally black. Like
Yeah.
there's not a chance I was getting any footage.
Yeah.
Um,
And just real quick, have you put any thought into trying to capture like really good audio with those things in the
um,
field?
honestly, my audio usually ends up being pretty all right. Like I've never really hated it. If I really want to get something cool, I'll throw like my boom mic on there, and it ends up being
Yeah.
like plenty for any of the footage that I'm doing. I have been kind of playing around with doing a little bit of a I don't want to call it a documentary because I'm not putting effort into it like a documentary filmmaker would put into it. So it's a very casual documentary style thing, but I've just been kind of collecting footage of some of the little adventures that Elle and I do because why she birds is to completely drown out the like residency and doctor part of her brain.
Yeah.
And I think it's just interesting to capture like she's just a different person. She's super motivated. She's super focused when looking like for a new bird. She just does
Yeah.
not care. She'll spend all 12 hours of a Saturday being like, no, I want to find a tundra swan. And I'm like, this is boring. Not as blatant like that. I drive her around and I hang out, and obviously I like shooting and birding. So it's like, what better way to spend a Saturday with, my fiance? But
Of course.
she like is like on it, and it's just so fun. It's so cool that she gets so jacked if like all she wanted to do that day was find like the woodcock, for instance, and then we did, and she didn't even get a good photo, but she's like, we freaking got him, man. Like,
Oh,
and that's
that's cool.
awesome. So it's been fun.
So you
Um,
putting a like a little personal video project together with that?
Working on it. Yeah, I'm trying to see like how far I want to take it.
Yeah.
I'm like collecting stuff, and I have footage from like all of last year because I take a little bit of footage here and there, and then I think I'm gonna kind of ramp up the idea during the spring migration and our like wedding stuff, and try to like
Mm.
get a good amount of footage, and then try to just like put it into some kind of story. I don't know if I'll just narrate it or if like I'll sit her down and like interview her about it. I think that might be more interesting.
What if she narrated it almost like a monologue?
I just don't know if she would want to put
Ooh,
that much energy into it.
sure.
It could be really cool. But
I think narration is great. I'm just curious. Yeah.
yeah, I'd have to talk to her about it if that was something that she was interested in doing. Um, but yeah, I think that could be fun. I mean, there's a lot of like asking her like on camera, like, what are we doing? Like I shot
Sure.
basically not a ton of clips, but I shot a handful of clips around us looking for the Caracara when it was in
Hmm.
when it was in Michigan. Just little things like that. So it'll be, how can I kind of thread a needle between each of these little stories, and then kind of tell the story of, this is basically how I survived residency, is
Yeah.
more or less what it will be.
That's
Um,
great. It's
which is
really great.
which is cool. So if it happens, it happens. It'll be more of like, in what capacity does it happen? But yeah,
Right.
pretty fun stuff.
That's nice. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about some of the lenses that I now have. I believe on the last episode we talked about me having the 85 millimeter Viltrox 1.4 Pro, and that's been nice. I also got the 28 to 75 Tamron 2.8. That's what I'm recording myself with now.
Word.
And I like it a lot. It does the job. It's not the most inspiring walk around lens, but I do like it for like the landscape stuff that I do at work. Oh my God, is it great? It's like using the 28 to 105 at work, but better because it's half the weight, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just so, like, that's how I feel about the Sigma, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
28-ish to 70 to 75-ish is just so usable. It's so boring. But
And you know what? Inside, between 75 and 105, there's not a lot I'm doing in those focal ranges. Like I would use 105 in the cafe,
but only
but
because you could.
but only because I could, and for very few things when I think of them. Mostly when I'm doing videos for the cafe for our socials, it's backed out to 28 or inside of like 35 or whatever. So
Right. Yeah.
so that lens has been nice. It's like one of those reliable, dependable lenses you just gotta have. So it's nice to have. I am gonna send that 28 to 105 away, but I'll talk about that in a little bit because I did get the Viltrox 135 Lab Chunker
That's a big
in the
boy.
mail. Finally.
Yeah. After it was dancing around the UP in Wisconsin or something, wherever it went.
Yeah.
Vermont. Who knows?
From Texas to Wisconsin to Minnesota and all around, and it was like a almost 2 weeks late, I think, by the time I finally got it. But I got it, and goodness, it's heavy, but it balances fairly well on the Z8. And man, does it make just gorgeous images. I've used it for a couple of things at work. I did take it around to Black Rocks here, so we'll look at some of those images. But just overall, like build quality is really nice. I think there's a couple of things that I don't like about the lens, but I will grow to be fine with.
Yeah.
First, the lens hood. I don't know why, but it's like there's like when you put it on back like this part right here is rubberized, which is fine, but it's so tight against here that it kind of like hugs the focus ring, and so it'll like grip the focus ring as you're taking it off, which is like I don't know. I'll have to just go slow with it, I guess. But if you're trying to get it off quickly, you snags, so, but that's fine. And then the aperture ring is not a real aperture ring. It's a control ring. So you gotta be okay with the fact that it spins infinitely.
Yeah.
You can click and declick or whatever, but that's as opposed to the 85's 1.4 Pro, which has a real aperture ring. And like I said, the most clicky aperture ring I've ever experienced. This is the total opposite. So if you like a real aperture ring, this doesn't have it. But image quality wise, it's pretty dang incredible. It is right up there with like the clarity and sharpness of like my 500 millimeter PF lens. It is wonderful. So we can talk about these images.
Yeah, are these in a particular order or
no order?
Okay.
But the black and whites are more recent with the 85, so we can talk about the stuff there first.
Oh, okay.
Here at Black Rocks. Yeah, no, you're on the right one.
Cool. So this is the 135.
But you'll have to remind me what I shot with because I can't.
Yeah. So so this is the 135. Looks like.
Yeah.
At 1.8 base ISO.
That is one of the nice things. Shooting the Z8, get down to what is it? ISO 64.
Yeah.
And at 1.8, this was one of those scenarios where I was walking around with some of the Finch photographer members. We had Miles out there. We had Jason and a couple other people, and this was just an opportunity to grab a shot of Jason, and behind him is just Lake Superior covered in ice, and
Yeah.
the framing of that tree I thought was really nice. So even though he and the tree are fairly close to each other at 1.8 at 135, there's even still a little bit of separation there, which softens that tree up a little bit, and I think makes it really nice. And I didn't catch him at a bad moment. He's looking real happy.
Yeah, I'll this'll kind of play into a topic that I have when we're moving on from here. So I'll
Yeah.
come back to this image as an example of that. I think talking about this lens, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Similar thing here with Miles. Is this also the 135?
Yep. And this is
Yeah.
a little slower, but it's freaking sharp, man.
It is sharp. I just love the combination of this compression at 135 and being able to open up to 1.8. You blow that background out. It's nice and creamy. I mean, this is like absolute killer profile picture type of lens.
Yeah.
Really, really does the job.
These aren't the best images for me to look at it yet, but I mean, correct it or not, there's like no CA or anything. It doesn't look weird around the subject, which is great. Like, I mean,
No.
it looks super good. It's really clean.
I will talk about that in a little bit, but there was
Yeah.
very little CA correction. There was very little correction in general I had to do with this lens. Very, very nice.
Shout out to the tendons on his hand.
Yep. The tendons, yep. So that was really fun to use. I think I then switched over. This might also be the 135. I can't quite
It is.
remember.
Yep.
Just some floating ice. There were a couple pools of open water, which was interesting at that time.
Yeah, it's pretty.
So this was a crop. I can't remember if it's 16:9 or 2:1, but
Yeah, it looks 2:1. It's pretty though.
yeah, just a nice little tighter shot, and then also the 135, I believe here.
Yep.
We had looked ahead. This is Richard. We had looked ahead to the weather to see, okay, we have 50% high altitude clouds, so we knew that there was a good chance to catch some color in the sky. So we were all motivated to be out. That color lasted maybe 5 minutes max. It was really nice. There was a bit of underglow right before the sun went down, right after the sun went down. So I actually took a chance and scooted off further down to actual black rocks. These guys were at Sunset Point, I believe, where the bench is, where the parking lot is. And so I was looking back at them towards the sun. I managed to get Richard looking back at me as he and I think Miles and Jason were back there at that point. I couldn't get further out to get the rest of the guys. That was about as far out as I could get while there was still some light. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice opportunity to try to get him in between some of that stuff. He's pretty far away from me. And just see what's going on there with the background. Like we've got the it's not really fog because it was so it's cold, so I don't know what's going on in the hills back there, but it looked like fog. So that's what it was. I thought it was just interesting. The
Yeah.
conditions all lined up nice.
Yeah, it's wild. And like, man, it's just super pretty. That Z8,
Yeah.
that Z8 rules, man. This is the Z8, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Z8 for sure. I'm not really interested in putting that 135 on the ZF.
It just
doesn't balance nice.
It'll work fine. It just will be awful to touch, but yeah.
Holding, yeah. And then again, the 135. I promise I took the 28 to 75 out for like wider landscape stuff, but I wanted to see what we were working with here with this 135 and the intricacies of the ice and the difference between what I am focusing on, how sharp it is versus how quick that fall off is, because that's only a couple inches behind the focused area.
Right.
And this is the kind of stuff I liked to do with the long end of the 28 to 105.
Right.
So I was really trying to get a feel for, okay, if I'm hand holding like I did with the Sigma, like how, I don't know, ergonomic and how inspiring is it to work with it like this? And it would be nice if it were a little lighter, but honestly, working with it like this was just fine, and I will continue to do that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so detail stuff, very nice. These guys, these black and white images here, I just posted a couple of days ago. Nothing super special, but I really just hadn't given myself time to get more familiar with the 85, so I wanted to do that. This also was on the Z8, and these were all shot in color, but converted over to black and white, obviously. And I was really enjoying the 85. 85 1.4, I believe all of them are wide open.
Yeah, so far.
Some of these are heavy crops though.
Yeah.
So like this one, for example, is like at least a 50% crop. So you probably can see whatever resolution it is, but I was just walking around trying to get a few things here and there, like looking at architecture and again trying to see if I shoot this wide open, how sharp is it. I wish I also supplied you the full crop there because it's quite heavy, but that's just a little bit of an artistic
Yeah,
take on that
it's a nice
crop.
image for sure.
Yeah. But overall, the 85, super nice. I will definitely be taking it out more. It's going to be interesting for me because now I've kind of got a bit of a collection going here and like I have to decide what's leaving my house with me and then I have to decide if I'm just going to walk around which combination is it going to be. That is a very privileged take.
Yeah, for sure.
And I understand that. But you know, I've worked towards getting these lenses and it's nice to be able to have the option. So
Yeah.
the 85 is nice. It's another one of those really nice to haves. I only have experience with the Sony 85 1.8 FE from long ago. This already holds up quite a bit better.
Yeah,
CA
I
wise,
don't doubt that. I really
yeah,
like the 85 FE 1.8. I think it's one of the best like first lenses you can get if you want to do like
for sure.
photography on the Sony, but it's not great. It's not stellar. I do have a buddy who still uses an A7R3 and that 85 on like 90% of his professional work.
Wow.
And like that's crazy. Like kudos to him, what a legend. But so it can hold up. But when you get a little kind of, I would call us enthusiasts more than like, some people just want to get
Yeah.
something that works and then they just shoot for work really hard. It's totally doable, but
Yeah.
there's so many
One of the
options now. Like it's cool that this is this good for the price.
That's the biggest thing too. The 85 1.4 Pro from Viltrox works so well. The only real difference that I see, because the build quality also is very good on the 85,
Yeah,
the biggest difference that I see is actually the 135 has much faster focusing.
sure,
The 85 is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's as slow as DSLR days, but I would say it's on the slower side of what you could expect from most modern mirrorless lenses. The 135 moves these chunks of glass super quick,
yeah.
like first party,
You can like
like
feel
what
it
I
too, can't you? I could in the
you can
Sony.
feel it,
Like
yeah.
you can like almost feel the big freaking pieces of glass move. It's wild.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm very impressed with the 135. That being said, even though I didn't get a lot of practice with like moving targets, that guy walking behind me in that third shot there was the only one that I was like, all right, let's try and track him a little bit. It
Sure.
did just fine. Like there was
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing
Absolutely.
wrong at all there. I would absolutely use the lens for paid work, I believe, but I got more practice in me to have to do, and I will look forward to that. But this is a good segue now into the fact that I converted these to black and white using DxO's Photolab 9. I just yesterday went into my Adobe account and canceled my subscription.
Dang.
And I tried to do this last year. As you all remember, I grabbed on one and I gave it a shot, man. I think I tried it for like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And it was real lackluster. On one was slow. There were problems. Masking was really convoluted. It didn't have everything I wanted. I was just desperate to get off Lightroom,
Yeah.
and on one couldn't do it for me. And I knew about Capture One. That's probably worth looking into again at some point. But I tried Capture One a few years ago. But Tony, our a buddy of mine here, you've heard of a few times, he uses DxO's programs and he's only had good things to say. So I was like, all right, let's try it. Photolab 9 is DxO's version of Lightroom. It
Yeah.
is a catalog, it is an editor. And as far as I can tell, it's pretty good.
Sure.
It doesn't have everything that I liked about Lightroom. And the biggest thing is it has no panorama stitching feature whatsoever,
Ooh.
which is a bummer because I
Yeah.
do that kind of often.
Yeah.
However, I also use Affinity's programs, and so it's easy enough for me to get my edits in, then export to DNGs, and then take those DNGs into Affinity Photo and just stitch from there and then be done. So that's not terrible, but it's like I don't know. DxO does have a bunch of programs, so I'm guessing that they probably have panorama stitching built into one of their other
Right.
programs. They have Pure Raw, which is like specific to just noise reduction if you don't need the whole Photolab thing. They have like a geometry one, which it may be built into that for like, I don't know, like architectural documentation, corrections and stuff like that. So it could be there. I'm not sure. I just feel like DxO does have a bunch of programs that seem to have segmented out very niche applications, and it seems silly that just simple panorama stitching is not included, but that's just me.
Question for you. What's the pricing for DxO?
Yeah, I believe I paid $220 or $230, and it's a one-time purchase.
Okay.
And that $220, I believe, included like their Pure Raw program that's like built in as a module into Photolab. If you wanted just Pure Raw, it's $110, and I know that because I accidentally bought Pure Raw first. So I had to refund Pure Raw because I was like, oh, this is not all of what I needed, and then went in and bought Photolab 9.
Got it.
So like half, but like in theory, half of Photolab 9's value is in the noise reduction technology, which is good. I actually think it's just about on par with Lightroom for noise reduction in their AI noise reduction, which is actually says quite a lot.
Yeah.
But everything else, there's a bit of a learning curve with where things are, as you'd expect. There are, I think, what's going to turn some people off is there are some like AI assisted like corrections that are turned on by default right away, as far as like it's like smart exposure, so it's going to like pick what to brighten and what to darken on its own right away. You can default those off, and I'm going to be doing that, but I wanted to like see, okay, with everything just defaulted on and running this program as it was meant to be run, how is it? So like things left turned on, it was actually pretty good the way it decided to like apply some default edits. I was like, actually, by turning these off, I'm realizing that if I had edited this myself, I would have got it pretty close to what it decided to do for me.
Sure.
That is not me saying I like these AI assisted smart tools, because I don't, but I don't think they're all that bad. It just depends on what you're talking about.
Right.
But otherwise, like color correction, pretty nice. Noise reduction, good. Everything that I normally use in Lightroom.
How's the masking?
I did do a little bit of masking.
Okay.
I didn't dig too deep, but it was actually pretty intuitive for its smart masking features. So like, I can't remember what the button's called, but I hit a button and it's kind of like doing the landscape button for smart masking in Lightroom, where it kind of like segments out the different masks automatically.
Yeah.
DxO has a version of that actually worked better than I expected it to.
Sure.
Because there were some very ambiguous parts of the landscape that I was working on that was like, oh, the water and sky, it's hard to tell where one ends and one begins, but it actually got it right. So far, I think it's fine, but I haven't been like overly impressed. It just seemed to work as it should, which is nice.
That's awesome. That's the big thing for me. Like, I'm so scared to try something else because I'm at the point where like a basic edit has 3 masks and like my average edits have 7 to 10 masks.
Yeah. The only, I think the speed of export is a little bit concerning. It feels a little bit slower.
Sure.
But actually the speed of working inside Photolab 9 is not problematic as far as like adding masking. It's like spot removal tool is actually very quick compared to Lightroom.
Cool.
It's much quicker. So
and you're on an M3 Mac?
I am on the M3.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not of a concern, but so far everything is fine. Photolab 9, I suppose, gets the initial seal of approval, but I have to get through spring migration and run a few thousand.
That will be the test, is getting through another season and like utilizing your actual workflows, because like
Yeah,
your workflows, your landscape workflows, they're nice and like kind of chill by
yeah,
comparison.
for sure.
The first time you have, let's say you do, like how you'll do like the Charlevoix stuff sometimes, or
Yeah,
if you have a gig like that where you're like, oh,
yeah,
now I have 500 images, I actually have to deliver a good chunk of them,
yep,
and let's see how this goes. So
yeah.
that's always the test.
No, but like just culling, same exact workflow as it would have been in Lightroom.
Cool.
So I did do a shoot recently where I had about 500. It didn't take me long at all. There are a couple small differences, but if you're nervous about it, this one does have a free trial, so maybe it's worth your time just to
Yeah,
download the free trial and give it a shot.
I'd like to. I'm always looking for ways to potentially permanently change my workflow. The thing that's so brutal for me is that I'm such a Photoshop guy. And I think the way the layers and everything work in that are perfect. I kind of do. I'm not a good graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm basically like elementary as hell. But when I do flyers and stuff, I do that in Photoshop. So like
Yeah,
it's just like that's kind of what I'm used to. I've been kind of I think I can go down to like the just photography one. I'm completely
yeah,
in DaVinci Resolve now.
yeah.
Um but I do use like Acrobat, some of the Acrobat features, and every once in a while I need to get into Illustrator, so that can be frustrating because I have the whole suite still. But
I'm telling you, Affinity's free. So like that's not even a trial. Just grab that. I do think Affinity's version of Photoshop is very intuitive to move over to, and they have an Illustrator alternative also.
I just hated it. Um,
Oh, you did try it.
I have it still on both of my computers, and it's just like it feels kind of like maybe it's just visually the like actual like aesthetic of the icons and things like it just feels like a toy. Um,
I get it.
and I can't get
I guess for
around it.
me, what I use, it works great. So
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
I'm
it's different.
I'm doing, like probably 25 plus layers in Photoshop, and like it's just that's going to be grueling.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm probably going to get the trial of this and see how it goes, especially if the
Yeah.
masking can be similar, because the masking's the real one.
Yeah.
I need it to catalog my stuff reasonably simply, and then I need it to have really good masking.
Yeah.
Everything else I can get around.
I can probably report back on the next episode and work with masking some more. I bet you I could find some holes in the masking that are probably, if I'm gonna guess, if there's a weak spot compared to Adobe, Adobe's got masking down pretty nice. So
Yeah.
I bet you I could find that to be a weak spot. But my initial testing was, this works good. So yeah, as far as Photolab 9 goes, I'm gonna keep rocking with it for a little bit. I do like that there's no import. You just copy from the SD card over to whatever you want to work on, or you can work right off the SD card. So for me, I actually prefer that for just
Mm.
being able to organize everything right off the bat. And I like it. I don't know.
Right on. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of going back to some of your 135 stuff and my next topic that I have.
Yeah.
It's a take that I wasn't sure. I was a little surprised at my take, I guess. So I'm watching a few shows on television, and by television I mean streaming services, because now we're paying more than we ever did for cable for the same
Yeah.
amount of selection. And
Hey man, I just looked at Tubi's offerings. You just got to sit through some ads, but they got some good stuff on Tubi.
yeah, well, most of my streaming services have ads now too, because it's too
I
expensive
know,
without them.
dude. I know.
It's so expensive. Like, and Elle and I will watch some of our shows when they're out. Like, unfortunately, some of our shows right now, like The Pit and things, come out weekly. So, like Thursday, Friday, we'll try to watch an episode and a half or so, and we'll get through some stuff. But
I'm waiting for all of season 2 of The Pit to drop before I sign back up for HBO Max.
yeah, so we're watching that. We just started DTF St. Louis. We started Rooster last night. We're watching Shrinking, which is still one of the best shows of all time. And so here's the thing. So I'm seeing more regularly, and I call it every time. I go, oh, this is X. I'll Google the cameras and the stuff that people are using, and I'll be pretty close. There's a huge trend right now on these like series things that they're all running 65 millimeter format, like medium large format sensor open gate stuff. And it's obvious because the depth of field is so narrow on like 99% of shots that to me, it's getting to the point where it's distracting as hell.
I absolutely agree, dude. I've been watching the new Scrubs series. They rebooted
Oh,
Scrubs.
I haven't started that yet.
Dude, the depth of like shallow depth of field, the much better production in lighting and stuff, glaringly different than original Scrubs, which was on the air like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that is one thing I noticed as well. I'm not gonna pretend like I can spot what you spot, but it's one of those things that I think everybody kind of notices, and they may not be able to put their finger on why. You know?
Yeah, well, so a lot of the old Scrub stuff was 16 mil film.
Sure.
And a lot of that stuff was, comedy back then, comedy television shows didn't have the highest, like craziest end stuff. So they weren't using, super shallow. I just wanted to see if I could quickly see who like what they're running, but I can't. I'll have to look at it later.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the Scrub stuff, and I haven't seen what they're using. But Bill Lawrence does Rooster and shrinking.
Yeah.
So they're using what were they using for shrinking? So Rooster is using the Blackmagic 17K. So it's basically open gate 8K.
Yeah.
And it's a 140 megapixel sensor. It's massive. Shrinking is using the Blackmagic 12K. And then DTF St. Louis is using the new Alexa 265. But what I noticed was the one that was really egregious was, and it's kind of because they're doing a lot of kind of artsy, they're really trying to get into the cinematography on DTF St. Louis, but they'll have these like back and forths between somebody getting interrogated, and it'll be like kind of 45 degrees, the camera will be facing down, and it'll be 45 degrees up above the person talking, and the first eye will be in focus and their nose will be out. It'll be that narrow.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be intense, right? It's an interrogation and stuff like that. But I'm like, oh my God, like, what is the point of this shot? Like, I just can't get over the fact, like, have a majority of the face in focus. Like, we don't see people like that. So it's just really, it's strange and it's off-putting in my opinion. And it was supposed to be, it was intentional. I read a little bit about it. But for me, I'm like, you get all these wide shots where people are outside, and because of its medium format and fast lenses, it like much like these shots where like this tree behind Jason is like blowing out. It's even more egregious than this, but this is the I've always loved the medium format look in photography, especially with like wide between like a 35 field of view and 50, where it's like, wow, I can't even believe this is such shallow depth of field because it's such a wide image. It's like this like kind of ethereal look that I've always loved. I've always been super into it. But seeing it like scene after scene after scene in a comedy series, Rooster is like kind of brutal. Yeah. And it's like each frame, if you're not trying to watch like a comedy show, you're like, that's gorgeous. And the color is like very different because I don't think a lot of shows are running a Blackmagic camera, and there's just kind of something to it. They're trying to do some kind of film emulation. I think the color grading is great. I think for the most part, like I'm happy with what I'm watching.
But it becomes taxing, right?
But it's just it's distracting that every frame is like this like super shallow depth of field kind of, and it's like, somebody walks up to a scene. I think it being kind of an a-hole, and I'm not the first person that like had this take or whatever, it makes it easier in a lot of ways for composition, because if you look at like Kurosawa or like what are some other like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, film, super deep focus, like because they want to show you these like beautiful landscapes and stuff like that. Somebody walks up and you can like, there's blocking for all the characters behind the main character because they actually have to control the entire scene and everything. Like that was the effort and stuff put into stuff. But now everybody just needs to like get new shows out and they're doing all this stuff. It makes like, we can be like my shot here. My room right now is a mess. but I'm at 1.4. I'm cropped into the APS-C mode on a 24 mm f1.4, so you don't have to see any of that.
Yeah.
Lazy.
Yeah.
I need to clean my room.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting to me because it's so conflicting. Because for us, let's say for content, we're doing stuff for work. You're doing something for the coffee shop. I'm doing something for Jaegerworks or whatever. Blow that background out because it makes it look high end before you're trying to make it look high end. It's like kind of it's a fast way to make something cinematic.
Right.
I want to say high end. I don't think it means it's cinematic because obviously I just proved that cinematic has nothing to do with depth of field when you have Kurosawa films from the 60s looking gorgeous and every frame looks like a freaking painting. So I understand the utility, but it's hard to stomach for a budgeted show with an entire crew and a bunch of stuff, and then all they do is like, let's go super wide open on a medium format camera.
Right.
I don't have a direction for this. I just like needed to talk about it. Wanted to talk about it with you. Like, I think the first time I publicly started like losing my mind about this was Zack Snyder's Den of Thieves or whatever, the Army of the Dead, the first one. He just like was on a 51.2 the whole movie. Nothing was in focus, and it was just like this, and it was almost nauseating because he would like do all these close-ups of all the main characters, and they were like, who cares about visual, like everything's going to be VFX outside of our main characters, so all of our like talking moments are just like 1-2, you can't see anything behind them, and it's just gross. To me, it's gross. And I want to see people do like, good deep focus.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that beyond what you've already said. I totally get it. It just made me think of Scrubs because Scrubs is one of those, I would say, famous shows for getting everything right, even though it kind of looks bad. It looks real,
Yeah.
It looks authentic. They used an abandoned hospital, and the lighting was crappy, kind of like The Office, where they set it up at one point in season 1. You can tell it just like looks the lighting looks so bad. That wasn't an accident.
Right.
They did improve the lighting in further seasons later on because the ratings needed it. But
well,
it's
and,
one of those
and they
things,
got budget. Like,
yes, well, that's what happens too now with Scrubs is the lighting, like they are still using, it's a different hospital, but it's all kitted out just the way that it used to look in the previous series. But the budget, you can just tell, is so much more. The lighting is so much more pretty. Like, I didn't need Scrubs to look pretty. I'm really glad that I watched episode 4 last night. Everything is written pretty well. Like, I was expecting it to kind of
have you watched Shrinking?
No, I haven't.
So same writer, Bill Lawrence.
Yeah.
Phenomenal writing. Excellent show. Super good show. And then Rooster so far is very funny and very different. Steve Carell's the main character, but it's a Bill Lawrence written show. So that's the only thing that I can feel somewhat, I think Zach Braff is going to do a good job at keeping that thing alive. But they do this thing. Sorry to like jump in your thing, but Shrinking does kind of the old school Scrubs thing where it'll just be like a fun episode. There's like a bunch of things going on. And then the last like 2 minutes is like, am I supposed to laugh? Am I supposed to cry? Am I having an existential crisis right now? Why do I care so much about this show? Which Scrubs has some, like, I'll go back and watch some of them. Right before residency, we started rewatching Scrubs, me and Elle, and we watched a ton of it. I think I kept going and she got bored or just busy. But some of those episodes, dude, are soul crushing. You're like, I actually have to take like 30 minutes to think about what's going on in my brain.
For me, it was mostly my main concern was, okay, this is a 20-year-old comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy evolves over time, right?
Yeah,
and I think they actually did. Yeah, I think they did a really good job of evolving it and keeping what was nice about the show good. So
cool.
I would say like B+ for me for New Scrubs.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I think Zach Braff has a good head on his shoulders. Like he understands, he understands comedy, but he also like understands like how important Scrubs is to people. And then Bill Lawrence is obviously a brilliant writer. I don't actually know if he's involved with the new Scrubs or not. I have to imagine he is. But yeah, so that's cool. Anyway, So there's some decent TV out there that can make me forget about how awful the world is when I'm not able to bird when it's too cold. So
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, speaking of that, I just picked up a Nintendo Switch 2 and got the new Pokopia game to try and wait out this time before spring migration begins. So I
right
hear you.
on. Yeah, heck yeah. Um, I jumped into doing a little bit more Counter Strike again, and it's like the most soul crushing video game I ever played. Um, it's one of those Stockholm syndrome games. Like a lot of the people that played competitive games have this. Like if you know anybody that plays League of Legends still, they do it because they have to,
Yeah,
because their soul is crushed by it.
that
Uh,
was me with Rocket League a few years ago.
yeah, right. Yeah, all of that stuff. But it's been kind of fun.
Yeah,
Anyway,
good. Fun is good.
moving on from there. So let's talk about the interview with Tony.
Oh yes. That was nice. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. It's on my YouTube channel as well as I believe we use the collab feature on YouTube, so it should
Yeah.
be on Light Overtime's channel. You might have to, if you're on the page of Light Overtime, just scroll down. Just scroll
Yeah.
down all the way. I don't know why they did it this way, but it's kind of not easy to find. But I did do that. It was great to sit down with Tony. You guys have heard me talk about him time and time again on these episodes. He's my neighbor. We are in that same photography club together, and
Yeah.
he has a gallery show going on right now at Second Story Studio, and I really want to treat this interview series, because it is a series, as a way for me to become a better interviewer,
Sure.
become better at thinking a little more critically when it comes to um, approaching other people's artwork, approaching other people's mindsets
Yeah.
when when thinking about how they're actually going about making their art. And so this was my second interview. I think we did a great job at navigating through topics, and it's helping me kind of figure out how I want to structure these videos, because now I've got two videos where it's not just tell me about your art. It's more like, here's what I see from you. There are some common threads, and here's this bigger, broader topic that I kind of want to pull the threads on and find commonality in. So with Jason, it was like, okay, um, I'm not going to call you an amateur, but you're really digging into starting to become a professional,
Right. Yeah.
and you do a lot of personal stuff that's very artistic, very creative. How are you pulling that into um, trying to make a business out of photography, right?
Yeah.
And with Tony, it was kind of a similar thing where he has just a couple of years under his belt, but he's so good already. And I really wanted to pull on those threads of, okay, now you've got a gallery show. Now you're working a little bit more professionally, in, or at least thinking about it with this gallery show. Let's talk about that process. And we really like leaned into that in the second half of the interview about like, okay, what did you learn? Like what were the difficulties of setting up a gallery show? And kind of everything in between there, because it's not something that every photographer thinks about. Although I think every photographer should think about seeing their work printed and framed
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
a physical format. A gallery show is one of those things where you got to know the right people that have the space.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll be very expensive for you to go get your own space for that. But if you do know the right people, and they want you in their studio and they want your stuff on the walls, take advantage of that and get yourself out there, because that's really how you do it to get your stuff in front of new sets of eyes and to make sales, because that's the impression you got to make. Trying to throw your work on social media is just a constant hit to the ego all the time for us these days, right? Like, unless you already have a million followers, you're going to throw your stuff out there, and maybe your closest friends will say that's great, and maybe they won't.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
because it's just not built for making artists feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
But
just for attention.
it at best, and with talking with Tony, it was really great to get the insight of, and I have some of that experience too. So it was just nice to talk about it and get it out in the air of what were the things to think about. how did you choose what mediums to go with? How did you choose the images? Those kinds of discussions I think are really good to have for people who haven't done it yet
Yeah.
but really want to know what those choices and what those thought processes were, because a lot of us, a lot of you who are thinking about it are going to stumble through that. And maybe your first one, you're going to learn a lot about what you should have done differently. And it's always nice to hear about those kinds of things from someone who just did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't listened to the Tony episode yet. I probably will on my next commute, which should be Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think when trying to explore um, the next step of photography, let's just say like kind of blanketly to any of our listeners who are kind of engaging in it and are like on social media. Social media is kind of like an avenue to kind of scope out what you're into, where you stack up, and it's kind of more of a tool for you to use than a way for your work to get out and like really thrive, generally speaking. If you want to engage
Yeah.
in photography in a real way, where you're gonna like start to see some growth or like some really heavy feelings about it is like printing work for gifts is like the best first step. Like, it doesn't have to be, like a big birthday gift or something, but like the first time you have a print made, even if you have like Printique or somebody do it, and you take the time to go to like, I like to send people to like resale stores or something, secondhand stores, get a cool frame and like give it to your friend or your mom or somebody. And then you'll start to engage with your own work in a totally different way, like
Completely.
instantly. And all you did was spend like $14 to get an $8 print and maybe a $3 picture frame. And
Yeah.
then now all of a sudden you're looking at your photo differently, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, if I knew that it was going to look like that when I printed, I would have probably done this.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe if it was slightly bigger, like you start to understand the relationship between like viewing distance on a print. And there's all these little things that all you have to do is do it a couple times,
Yep.
that now you're like, okay, humans, and actually like showing people my work is way cooler than like little clickies and stuff.
Yeah.
um I've been talking about wanting to do it forever, but I still want to get like little really cheap books made so I can throw
Yeah.
them on people's counters and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and find more cheap ways to just have people engage with my work. Because when I do like some of my photography, I'll look at it all the time. Like
Mhm.
I'll on my phone, on my computer, whatever, on the iPad. Like that's when photography is fun. It's not
Yeah.
getting clicks, it's not getting comments. If you can tell a story and you can start a conversation and you can engage with people, that's kind of what the social media aspect of your photography will do for you. It's
Mhm.
always going to be what's happening in your image and how people are engaging with the content itself. No one cares what it was taken with. Like,
Right.
no one cares about like you got a new camera or whatever. Like, they just don't. Like, no one is going to care about it like you do. You're like, wow. It's just like you'll see, and I'm guilty of it. People will search what does an A6700 look like, so you'll get likes and stuff because people will find your work that way. That's not the people you want to see your work. Um, like, you don't want to engage with people that were looking at your photos because you took them with a camera. They're not there for your work. They're just trying to suss out if they want to go buy that camera or whatever. I had the
Yeah.
same argument with my job when I started at DGW, and they were trying to get like followers and stuff and trying to build the brand by like giving away hats. All you're going to do is get people that are engaging with your content because they want to win a free hat. You're
Yeah.
not going to get people that are looking at your content for what you're actually doing and the stories that you're
Right.
trying to tell and like the brand you're
Right.
trying to build. And it's the same thing with your photography. So you can't cheat it. You can't fake it. Nothing you do to just get more clicks is going to improve your photography. None of that stuff is going to like make you feel more whole. That's completely why we made the Discord, because even if it's a message or two, and it's been a little slow, so hopefully it'll pick up now that it won't be so cold. People will be shooting more and things like that. But when you throw some images in there and you ask a couple questions, even if it's one, 2, 3 people, now we're talking about your photography.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen on Instagram because
No.
we all have our own kind of like, we're there for that reason. We're there for Instagram. And when you're in a small community, I can use the Discord as like an analog for your like shooting group and for just, you know, getting together with a couple of friends and like sharing some work and talking about it. What normalize that. Normalize
Yeah.
getting together with your photography friends and be like, "Hey, what have you been shooting?"
Hmm.
You know, that's kind of why David and I made the podcast, was because we're not close enough to have these conversations in person.
And it's the
So,
entire reason Kurt and I started the Finch Photography Group. The
right.
entire reason.
Yeah. And so like that's it. That is where you're going to grow in your photography, unless you're, you know, the other avenue is, are you going right into documentary or like journalism storytelling? Then like that's a totally different route.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to show human beings your work. You're going to want to show them in person, whether it be friends, family, whether you know somebody who has like a coffee shop that will let you put up. Because I know there's the Raven in Port Huron will sell like consignment or just hang people's artwork if you build a relationship with them. I know a ton of other places that are like that, where they'll just like rotate people's artwork through there just so you can see some stuff. That's so
Yeah.
much more important than any of your social media ever will be. Anyway, that
Agreed.
was a tangent, but I think it rings true with talking to Tony, because again, this
Yeah.
is his first like showing, right?
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much. I believe so.
I'd love to talk more about to Ryan, you know,
Yeah.
about his original, like he really went bananas on his first little showcase thing that he did. And not to say your little showcase thing, that I just womanized your experience, but oh, you have
You're correct,
your
though.
cute little but yeah, so it's all just very interesting. I don't even know what I would put up if I were to do something like that. I don't think I
Right.
have cohesive work like that, but it makes me want to try to figure out what I shoot and why I shoot it.
Yeah. It's on our last Finch meeting, we got together and just shared what we wanted to share. There was no theme for the photo share that time for the in-person meeting.
Sure.
I brought the book that I wrote in 2020, the landscape book,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things where this might be a good opportunity to share with these guys. Kind of like Tony's got a set of work on the walls and getting gears turning about how to make work cohesive if
Yeah.
you want it to. And
Sure.
I always want to and feel like there is time and opportunity that I let slip by all the time for that.
Sure.
So I was like, you know what? I wrote a book, I designed it. Here it is. This is all a cohesive set of landscape images only. And my hope was to one day write other books that had astro and intimate nature and portraits or whatever that can kind of pull together all of my work at different times in a cohesive way. I'm still working on the other books part of that, but it was nice to share the book and go, here's one idea, you know. Yeah, so sitting down with Tony was nice. I got to dig into his thought process on all of that, and I will be doing more interviews going forward. Actually, Jacob is on the books for
Cool.
the next video, so hopefully the end of the month we will get that in.
Sweet. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited to watch that one. The interview with Jason was interesting, especially because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because I again, it was the first of the series. I haven't seen you interview anybody. It was like, this is going to be about photos somehow or another, and then you just find yourself listening, and then it's over, and you're like, oh shit, I just sat there that
Yeah.
whole time. Sweet.
And if you did listen to Jason's, thank you so much. I improved the audio quality with Tony's.
Perfect. But yeah, so go check that out. Obviously, there will be more up. I can take that, I think, and go into kind of the photo share that I want to do for probably
yeah.
not the next episode, but the following episode. So we'll get another reminder into the next one.
Let's do it.
I have a case of a bunch of lenses that I don't use. I was talking to David about some of his plans, which we'll get into in a minute. And I was like, you know what? I actually don't use any of my vintage lenses like I used to. I used to put them on my GH4 with the Metabone Speed Booster all the time. I used to just do so much. And now that I kind of find myself just making video content for work, for social, I use the easiest, lowest effort way to do it a lot of the time, because I just need to make it fast, which means I'm S-Cinetone, which means I'm using an autofocus lens, whichever one's on my camera, and I just kind of slam together some clips and I make some content to tell a quick story. Could I do it with a phone? I probably could, but at least it looks a little bit better, right? So for this next photo share, I wanted to do something where I could get kind of a lot of different submissions. So the theme is literally just going to be vintage lenses. And that can be any kind of vintage lens. I think technically speaking, early EF mount lenses are vintage now.
Sure.
The turn of the 2000s. Old DSLR lenses on your mirrorless cameras is good to go. Any old weird, your Helioses of the world, all of the other, old Nikon F mounts, fair game. Just something that you have kicking around, even if you're still using like a normal Canon DSLR, but you got their like OG Nifty 50 or something. I think technically that's vintage now. I'd like to see just kind of, what you're doing.
Let me ask for clarification.
Yeah.
I have manual focus lenses that aren't vintage, that are looking like vintage. They're built
Sure.
like that. Where does that stand for you?
Well, I mean, I've always said it's up to interpretation. So,
okay. Because I think that makes it a little bit more accessible for people on mirrorless,
Yeah, just weird stuff. I don't know. Like if you got something that's not, no 70 to 200 G masters, no
Right.
super dope, your modern 135. Sorry, David, you can't rock the old 135 1.8 on this next one. But
Fair enough. But use the lenses that might be collecting a little bit of dust, huh?
yeah, something. I'm considering actually letting all of mine go. I'm kind of the type that I keep everything that I like, and if I don't own it anymore, I feel bad, and then I end up buying it again. So like I have pedals that I don't even play for guitar that like I just know if I didn't have them, I would need to acquire them again. I have
it's nice to know that about yourself and think ahead of time.
I only know it because I've done it a million times, and I've spent way too much redundant money I didn't need to spend buying things that I already had once or twice, sometimes 5 times. I have the 7th ever Blackout Effectors Musket Fuzz that was made in September of 2008. I got it in the beginning or late 2009. I have sold it 3 times and bought it back from each of those individuals every single time they wanted to sell it.
So it's the same exact pedal.
It's the same exact pedal. And I actually didn't have it for 6 years or so. Wow. And I tracked down the dude that I sold it to, saw he was selling a bunch of pedals, and I bought them back. So I'm just not okay up here. But I think it's time to be more realistic with how I make and what I want to make, and not have fluff that I'm genuinely keeping around just for like silly reasons that I don't think is necessary. So I'm gonna play for the next couple of weeks with all these lenses, get a bunch of samples, probably do a handful of video samples and things. So you'll probably see those start popping up onto Light Over Time's YouTube channel. Whether it be reels or normal videos, probably normal videos so they can be 16:9 proper. But yeah, I have probably like 9 lenses or something like that are kind of neat, and I'm probably going to sell them. Maybe I'll give one of them away. I think I'm going to keep one Helios because I have a 44M that I've had 9 Helioses. They're all kind of different. They're all kind of in various states of disrepair. Like some of the rings are kind of really stiff. Some of them are really loose. Some of them are jangly. But I really like my
pretty stiff, this 44M here,
Yeah, I really love my 44M. I think it's like basically perfect. It's the best Helios I've used, so I'm going to keep that one. And yeah, maybe I'll give away my other Helios or something during that photo share to one of the people who photo share. And because I'm doing it and it's whoever, I will probably pick whoever's submission I like the most. And if it's the Helios, it's the Helios. If it's one of my other silly lenses, it'll be one of my other silly old lenses. But if you're into an old lens, there's a good incentive to submit your photography and get in our Discord. Reach out to us and get in our Discord because I get to play favorites when I'm giving away some of my personal products. It is
You
not.
sure do.
It is not a. It is not, kind of an official partnered thing. I can just be like, I like this guy. He's getting a lens.
Yep.
So join our Discord because that will certainly help your chances of me choosing your photography. And then submit it. Submit something.
So we're talking about looking at images in about a month.
Yeah, probably. If it's the 15th, I mean, probably the beginning of April.
Okay.
So you got 2 weeks, let's say, give or take, because it'll probably be just over 2 weeks for whatever that episode is. We'll at least have one episode before the next one, but hopefully two. We'll see.
So it doesn't matter what it is, just as long as it's taken with something vintage inspired, retro.
Yeah.
something old.
Let us know what you're using, why you chose it. Tell us about the photo. Tell us why you chose the photo. Same story as all of our photo shares, but
Yeah.
with the caveat that I'm going to give you a cool lens. The cool thing is most of my vintage lenses are M42 mount, which means they can even go on DSLRs. I run them on Canon DSLRs. If I have an adapter that will work for your camera, I'll try to include it. I know I have a few kicking around. I know I have one for Micro Four Thirds that I don't need. I think I have an L mount one. I definitely have an EF mount one. So I'll try to make it as easy as possible to mount the lens to whatever system you have. But
And if not, the nice thing about adapting old lenses that don't autofocus is the adapters tend to be pretty cheap.
yeah, they're usually like between 10 and $20, depending
Yeah.
on like if it's nice or kind of janky. But yeah, so there you go.
Well, that's cool. That is very cool.
I think it'll be cool. I'm gonna enjoy kind of trying to. I'm still trying to sell my A7CR, so I think I'm probably just gonna mount my helicoil M42 adapter on it and just start running a bunch of these lenses throughout the week.
I believe you saying "still trying to" is the first time anybody listening to the podcast is hearing about you selling the A7CR.
If you follow me, you know that I've put it up for sale on various things. It's actually been on Facebook Marketplace for 2 months.
Do you want to talk about what you're trying to do?
No, because I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't decided. I
Okay.
genuinely haven't decided. I'm still using the A7 IV a lot for work. I have the A9 III. I don't need a really, really nice A7 CR. I use it because it's cool and like whatever. But like, I've committed myself to not using it for birding anymore because it just ends up using like tons and tons and tons of the shutter for no reason. And it still has tons of life. So I'd rather keep it the way it is and not just like bird the heck out of it. And it's frankly, it's just not a very good birding camera. It doesn't have a joystick, and it can be cumbersome. The maxed out 1/4000th of a second shutter speed is kind of a pain in the butt for birding.
A little bit limiting.
Yeah, I'm often in the sunlight well above that with the A9 III. I can be up to 1/80,000th of a second if I want to. So spoiled. But
I
yes,
think we bird at the exact opposite times. I'm always right around dawn or dusk.
yeah, that's fair. I think when L's off and we have time to bird, we'll bird all day. So we often bird from basically the morning. We basically try to say what's our like go-to for the morning and the night, because that's or the evening, because those are like the really hot hours, and then in the middle we just try to find like cool new things.
Sure.
But anyway, I digress. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but I'm liquidating some of my stuff. I might get rid of the 5D. Just because like it really just collects dust, quite literally. I clean it off like twice a month.
Sounds to me like you should use it for the photo share.
Maybe. I definitely could, but I think I'm probably gonna run. I like having focus peaking when I'm using manual.
Focus peaking is nice.
So I basically miss a lot of shots running the Canon 5D if I'm just trying to do it for fun and fast. And if I'm being honest, I like to use cameras that I like using. Whereas like the Canon's just
That's
kind
very
of
fair.
It's kind of like a gimmick now. Like it was kind of where I started. I liked having the old DSLR because it was my the legacy, I guess. But anyway, maybe I'll give away that in the Nifty 50 later in the year or something, and it'd be kind of a sweet kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, photo share, vintage, old, jank. Like if you're like, I still am not super a photographer, but I'm interested and I'm using my old hand-me-down camera thing, like submit something. If you have a Canon T2 and you're like, hey man, this is all I got.
Or like a Samsung Galaxy S8.
Yeah, vintage cell phones. I have an iPhone 4S.
There you go.
But I just want to have the greatest possible amount of people input some of their photography, their honest photography, as I can. So whatever you're into shooting, whatever you're into shooting with, maybe it's like a Otopica or whatever brand, like 400 reflex, like prime that you got for $40 on Amazon like 3 years ago to put on like a GH2. Sweet. If you like the shot, if you want to talk about the photography, input it.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're at an hour 14. I'm going to burn through the next two topics unless you had anything else you wanted to jump in with beforehand.
Nope, rip it.
Sweet. The first one, have you seen the MacBook Neo?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Very boring for you and I. Nothing that we would use. However, what they did was they made an Apple computer that's $600 that is absolutely perfectly acceptable. This is the one that people who need something to email, need something to have a personal computer, because I know people my age who don't own a single computer and they only have a phone.
Yeah.
And you there's just some things that you can't do. Fortunately, we still have libraries and stuff if you're one of those people that doesn't just have extra money laying around to buy something that you need for little things. You're trying to get a job interview, whatever. You have resources, but even that, having worked at a public library is so challenging for some individuals. But having something that actually can last for a while, is capable of editing photos even, is pretty dang decent. This is pretty wild. Like,
this is great. Why this is so good is because for a long time, forever, basically, a $600 Windows laptop is absolute dog water.
Yep.
For basically whatever you'd want to do with it, other than maybe getting some emailing done or something. But if you're at all interested in creative applications, $600 on a Windows laptop doesn't do it for you, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
You could spend $2,000 and still be frustrated on a Windows laptop at some points.
Right.
This is Apple Silicon at about as cheap as it could ever possibly get, and is good. It's just good.
Yeah, it's not an M series laptop. It's an A series laptop.
From the iPhone Silicon, right?
Yeah, from the pro level iPhone stuff. And Peter McKinnon had a video that was sponsored, and he went through it, and like he used like the little RV50 or whatever Canon, did some shots, did a little thing with some color grading, and kind of showed what it could do in Premiere. I don't think Premiere's super amazing on Apple Silicon. I think if you had like free DaVinci Resolve, you could even get a little bit more out of it. But for what it is, I think if you were doing photos, if you're doing even some like graphic design stuff, like this is kind of crazy. This is super cool. This is going to be the new college laptop. Like this is what like the, I'm going into my senior year of high school. I want my first computer situation is like, this is a dream for both parents to be able to give their kids something that's not a freaking Chromebook, like basically a paperweight, for not a ton of money, where it has real capability. I see this being a pretty cool move. And with the inflated tariff levels of most things and RAM and everything right now, like this is pretty mega. That's why it's a big deal.
It's perfect timing for this product.
Yeah, and I think they're going to sell a ton of these, and I think a lot of people are going to use them. I think a lot of like I would say the demographic of like just older than us, like in their 30s, people that like they need a computer to do like a little bit of their work and they need stuff. This is an amazing option. Like this is so cool to be able to do that, because before you could get a Mac Mini for $600 and it was one of the best. Like I kind of have a little bit that I need to do. I need a computer that's not bad. I have an old monitor laying around. I would recommend people the Mac Mini if they just wanted to get it and forget about it, especially if they were an iPhone user, because this is going to have things like AirDrop. This is going to be really, really cool. And I just wanted to like kind of say what I was thinking about it, because there's going to be a lot of people that just say this is stupid. Why would anybody want this for a couple $100 more? You could get an M2 or You could, but that's a couple $100.
Yep, and
Like,
that budget is tight for people.
yeah, not everybody is me or you. Like, you and I will spend all of our remaining, like, after all our bills are paid and our family's taken care of and all of our, like, responsibilities are good, the rest of our cash goes to the thing we like to do, which is, like, nerdy camera creation, computer stuff.
That's right.
So for somebody who doesn't have it like that, and money is real tight these days, I think that's cool. And
Yeah.
they're going to sell a heck ton of those. The final one is Fujifilm. Currently has a voting thing. I'll put the link into the description. Basically, they're asking their customers, their community, their audience, what they would like to see. And you died.
I know. I'm gonna swap batteries.
You're good. They would like to see kind of what people want. And I guess they've done this before. I didn't look super into it. I just thought it was really interesting. You can go on, you can vote. They kind of lay out, like, these are kind of the directions we can go with, like, I don't know, 10 or something choices. And it's really cool because I would love to just see this in the camera industry, period. I think they're going to get a lot of valuable information. It sounds like they've done this before, and they have had people. You're back. They have had people kind of submit what they wanted. They made it, and it did really well for them, especially with Fujifilm having just so many SKUs across the way.
Yeah,
I think this makes a lot of sense. Not everybody could pull this off, just the way the businesses are set up. But man, would it be cool to see one of the big three do this? Like, if it was like Nikon or Sony or Canon, that was like, hey guys, this is like genuinely, what do you want from us? Because we have so many ways we can go and limited resources.
With the way Canon's been operating lately, I could not see Canon doing it this way.
No, absolutely not.
You're not asking anybody anything.
Yeah, but it's freaking cool. So they have a couple of cool, like, zooms. They have a couple of really fast primes. They basically broke out, like, I don't know, 10 to something like that. A good chunk of options to vote on. So you said you captured the three that you chose and you voted on?
Yeah, I wrote them down. But let me just tell you that I'm not a Fuji user, never have been a Fuji user, and these lenses, I don't know the context of what's already available for the most part. So I just gave you, I'm just going to give you the three that sounded most interesting to me.
Cool.
And then you, as a Fuji user of the past, can give some context here and what you think is valuable.
For sure.
I thought because of, I don't know, brand identity, I liked the idea of the brass exterior lenses. I thought those sounded pretty cool.
Yep.
And then being f2s probably has some performance value there as well. So the 23, 35, 50 f2 with brass exterior was my first vote.
Those are some of the most common lenses, the f2 line of primes for the Fujis. They're incredible. They're super good.
They already exist. So they're just variations that are brass.
These would just be improved designs and then brass and stuff. But yeah, amazing lenses. They're basically iconic for Fuji. Yeah.
Cool. 16 to 80 f2.8 just seems like an absolute powerhouse run and gun video option.
Yep. They have an f4, which is kind of one of their big kit, like, solid lenses. An f2.8 would be epic here for sure.
Yeah, because we're talking about the equivalent of what, like 24 to 120 or something like that?
Yeah, whatever 1.5 is. But then your 2.8 would act more like a full frame f4-ish.
Sure.
So then you just have, like, that's what you want. When you pick up the Fuji f4 16 to 80, it just lacks a lot because f4 is pretty brutal on APS-C. Like, it's pretty,
Right. Yeah, so, but it'd be similar to the Sony 24 to 120 on Sony that you had?
105. 105. The Nikon goes to 120, yeah.
That's right. And then I voted for the 90 millimeter f2. And I'm not sure that was, like, characterized as, like, having character. I'm not sure what that actually means in that case.
Yeah. So
just a nice portrait lens.
Yeah, portrait, macro, the 90 mil design across the board for all companies has always been, really popular in the photography world. Fujifilm is primarily a photography company. It makes a lot of sense. Their character lenses are like the original 1.4s that they had come out, which everybody says, if you have ever heard Fuji 3D pop or anything like that, that's what everybody would always talk about looking at them.
Okay.
Yeah, just not clinical, having some kind of vibe to them, things like that. It's super interesting. For me, I'm a holdout for seeing them revive the XH series, which is their video centric, more modern bodies.
Yeah, I
Um,
know Fuji users who still use the was it the X2H?
XH2, yeah,
XH2?
yeah, and they're great, and I think it's
Yeah.
cool. I think they give you a different look. They've recently done the GFX Eterna like cinema camera.
It's like borrow something from that.
Yeah, they're so capable, and they do it in a way that's different, and I've always
Yeah,
really liked those cameras, but they were always just a little behind the curve when I was already on Sony,
yeah.
for me to care too much about them. If their autofocus is improved now and they go to like the new world of technology and then still have some of that charm that Fuji has, it could be really cool. I also prefer a more professional body than the kind of nichey, um, not to be confused with Friedrich Nietzsche, the more niche-ish style bodies. Like they just end up feeling like toys. The XH4 or the XE4 was an amazing camera, but it couldn't kind of kill the toy vibe for me. So I
Sure.
couldn't take it as serious. Which is why I kind of got rid of Fuji, flirted with wanting them for so long, and then just ultimately never really went back to them.
Had you ever had your hands on one of the XT cameras?
Yeah, I mean, I shot the XT2
Okay.
very briefly. I had some friends with. I really wanted the XT4 so bad because
Yeah,
it was the only one I believe that had a flip out proper screen,
I think so.
so I could do what I do with the camera. And
That
then
was the one that Fuji made. That line has always seemed like the one that feels a little more professional. I don't know if that's true or
no,
not.
it is. That's their professional photography one for sure. And since the XH2, I think the XH2, the XT3, sorry, the XT2, the XT3, 4, and 5, they're all really well regarded cameras. I think they're all
Yeah.
incredible. And I think the real Fuji players like doing work with Fujis were using those or the XH cameras. All the other ones were kind of like creator cameras or like just fun, less workhorse style cameras or whatever. But they were fun. I think if they had an 18 to 50 1.4 zoom on there,
Mhm.
which is buck wild, and then they were talking about doing a 33 millimeter f 1.0.
I had the assumption that that would be manual focus. Do you think that's true or no?
They have a 50 mil 1.0 that's already existing that has autofocus.
Oh, it has
Um,
autofocus. Wow.
so but with the speed of that zoom and even the 2.8 zoom, and then they said Cine Prime lenses at f1.2. I was like, please do a XH3 with a
Yeah.
super fast zoom and a really fast 50, because 50 you're at the 75 millimeter realm.
Yeah.
That's just an 85-ish portrait lens type
Yeah.
situation for me, but a really fast 50 and an 18 to 50, those are really awesome options. Those are incredible
Yeah.
options for me. I would go back to get an XT5, throw a 33 mil 1.0 on it, and that'd be all I need to do photography. Like that'd be a really cool option. I think a lot of people would run that setup. And then I could have an XH3 with just the 18 to 50 f1.4 zoom on there and just like absolutely slay all content that you would need to make on social, on YouTube, whatever. It'd just be really cool. I think they would like really shake up the space for APS-C if they made these really fast, because then at that point you're competing with 2.8 zooms. You're competing with like the full frame depth of field and vibe. And I think they could differentiate themselves really well with that, especially if they made Fuji branded 1.2 primes for the X series. That would be sick.
Yeah, I mean, it makes some sense because they put a lot of investment, time, energy, effort into the Eterna, and that's going to have life for a long time. I could imagine a scenario where they do some small version of that in an XH3 and give it the same kind of attention, you know?
It would be cool if they called it a Super 35 Fujifilm cinema camera and they just like crushed with it. It'd just be neat. It would be something that
It
would
would be.
actually make me consider looking at their systems again. Because I think for
Yeah.
the last few years it's been like their like prosumer the XT5 is old. It's like a few years old. So they haven't had any of the really high end stuff, which is where if I was going to switch over to a Fuji camera, it would have to be on their higher end stuff. I probably wouldn't
Sure.
toy around with any of especially the XE5 going more towards the toy side than even the XE4 was. It kind
And
of
still
stripped
being
it,
expensive.
yeah, and being really expensive. It kind of stripped it. It kind of went a step back in some regard for me as
Yeah.
far as considering it to be like a high level camera. But anyway, very cool thing to do. Very cool way to do market research. I'm really excited to see what kind of comes of it. Um,
Yeah.
you can look at the results, and the results are not what I care about. So the Fuji people that are voting on this are not going to go anywhere near this XH3 pipe dream I have with all these
Yeah.
fast stuff. They're so far away from that. I'm not their customer, obviously.
They have different data to tell them what sells.
Yeah. So, well, and just the people involved they want all the other stuff because those are, they're asking Fuji people what they want. So,
Yeah. What do you think that compares to how Canon is trying to get research done with putting out this waist level camera for a prototype at the whatever show it was?
I mean, it looked cool. I think they can spark kind of. I don't know. People can talk about their stuff. Canon is just in a weird position where you pretty much make pro cameras, or you
Yeah.
don't. Um, the gap between their bottom end and the cameras that they're working on is so vast, and it's
Yeah.
actually becoming that way with Sony too. Like the A7 6700 doesn't look like it's getting a refresh anytime soon. It just went up in price. So while I got it for like I think $1,100 or something, gone is the day you're gonna have an affordable Sony camera that's new generation. So it's like, okay, so you make pro cameras. They can fart around with wanting to do kind of more consumery things. I think their DSLRs still do really well in Asia, so they're still doing like the consumer level stuff all over the world. But I I don't know. I don't even know if they plan to make that. I don't think they
Yeah.
gave anybody any good data on that
It
camera.
seems to be a pretty common discussion that I'm seeing that Canon may have just had to come up with something for the show that they wanted to be present for, didn't really have anything new on the horizon that was real, and said, and apparently this exact, well, not exact, but this idea they've prototyped about 3 decades ago
Wow, yeah.
at
Well,
another show.
and the like the prism was plastic. It wasn't even glass. So like apparently it didn't look good. You couldn't like
Right.
it was like a cool idea if it was executed in the way that like Fuji would do it. Or
Right.
if like a Mamiya or one of those companies got licensed, and some company was like,
Yeah.
I want to make something vibey as hell, people would buy it. I think waist level finding is super good. I think if you are a mirrorless camera user that doesn't have a flippy screen, you already know that this is true. Or if
Yeah.
you have one of like the new Sony like vari angle where you can have both, or if you're running like you have just a flip up, right? Like you don't have a flip out on your Z8.
ZF flips out, Z8 flips up and down.
Right. But like I'm 6'9", so I love just flipping it straight out of the back
Sure.
for photography. Waist level finding for me is brilliant. I like kind of need it.
Yeah.
So like that could be a really fun little bring around with your friend's camera.
Could be.
I just don't think they care.
Do you think they even honestly are going to commit all the way to that kind of experience? I
No,
just don't think so.
I don't think they're gonna. I would be pleasantly surprised if they do it,
Yeah.
and they do it in a way that's like kind of good, and it's not like prohibitively expensive. I wouldn't expect any crazy features from it. I would expect it to be kind of a huge novelty. But I'd welcome being proven wrong, where they're like, actually, this is going to be like a high-end consumer level camera. Like this is going to be like $799, and it's pretty good, something like that. But who knows? Who knows?
They could put like the R8 sensor in it, right? Some APS-C sensor that's good, not awesome. They could put some lower level specs in it and just focus on the actual use of it
Right.
and make it fun.
Yeah,
and that'd be
yeah.
good.
The R8's actually full frame, which is crazy, but
What am I thinking of?
R7, yeah. But even the R8 sensor's cheap as hell. Do that. It doesn't need like a shutter. It just needs
Right.
the mirror to waist level find.
Right.
So do that. Focus on the experience alone. Don't like try
Yeah.
to pack it with features, and then they could have something cool in their hands that a bunch of people buy. But also they probably don't care.
Yeah, it seems like that's asking a lot for Canon.
Yeah. Wrapping up hopes and dreams, we haven't gotten any crazy news for what's coming, but I think 2026 will lead to some pretty wild drops. At this point, I think because I've been successful in staying away from getting an A7 IV, I would really love to see what happens with the A7R series. They keep talking about the A7S III as though like it's something that's going to happen. I'm starting to just believe more and more every day that it's not.
Yeah.
A thing I thought about today though was an FX2A, which if you're unfamiliar, they've done like they've done a couple of A series cameras with like the A7R4A, and then they did the FX3A, which was like we were running out of the LCD screen, so we're swapping it.
A lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah, because it's just kind of
Don't make it public.
It's like random,
Or
but
they don't make a statement about it, you know.
I think they could do a lot by putting the A7 V sensor just in the FX2 body. I bet they could just sell that camera. They could call it the FX2A. Nobody would have to care, and then it would probably be
all that changed.
Yeah. Well, then you have the video specs that sensor's capable of doing, right?
Yeah.
But I think I would buy that camera.
Wow.
I really like the EVF on the FX2. I think it's brilliant. It's exactly what I want from like a. At that point, it'd probably end up being my A video camera, and then I'd use
what's the price of the FX2?
Right now, it's $300 off, so it's like just over $2,600.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought. I had it in my head.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they couldn't go too crazy with it because it's an A7 IV sensor, so it's old as hell.
Right.
But as a tool, it's really sick. I really like the body design. I think it's exactly what I want. And then having that partially stacked sensor, you get the speed and everything you need from it to be reasonable, and then take photos that aren't super horrible with it. Because like using an electronic shutter with the A7 IV, forget about it for most things. It's just so slow. But yeah, so I'd like to see an FX2 with the A7 V sensor. I think I would want that more than an A7 V. I think it would make more sense in my workflow.
Oh, wow.
It would allow me to have, this is my camera for video. This is what I use. If you're unfamiliar, one of the main reasons I really like the A7 V for video is that it has dual native ISO, and the second ISO is 8,000. So it's kind of like a baby A7S III. That's the main benefit to the A7S III for me, was the 12,800 ISO, second native ISO, and S-Log. Just expands a whole lot of capability from a camera, and being able to have something relatively close to that takes 33 megapixels instead of 12 megapixel photos, it's kind of awesome. Like,
yeah,
I think they didn't get great publicity on how good the A7 V is, because it's like, well, yeah, this is the camera that we wanted the A7 IV to be. Boo-hoo. Like, it is what it is. It's a cool camera. I still look at it every day and go, do I want that? But I think that might be the big play from Sony, is an FX2 with that sensor and tech. And then we see if an A7S III makes, or an A7S IV even makes sense at that point.
Right.
Because it doesn't in my head, if I was Sony. It doesn't if you make the FX2 the A7 V spec. Because at that point, then you're at the FX, whatever the FX3 Mark II is, or whatever the FX6 is. Like, you're getting way into like, that's the nice video stuff.
Yeah, I remember when the FX2 came out, and that was the immediate obvious talking point was, this has the A7 IV sensor in it.
Yeah.
In a video camera? Weird.
Yeah, why? Big why? Because it's just not that good for that. I mean, I use it all the time for video, but it's just because it's convenient. And
Right.
it's plenty for social media, but it's not good. It's not like FX quality video good,
It's a
which is why.
great photo camera and very capable at video if you know what you're doing, but not like a video centric sensor specifically.
Yeah, it's just not good for it. It's not what you would
No.
want. So it's weird that it's an NFX body because like now that the gap is so far closed, like what could they do in a $4,000 camera to call it an A7S4 over the A7 V and make it valuable?
Yeah.
I guess they could put the A9 III sensor in it, but it's not good in low light. So like that doesn't
Right.
make sense. But then you have a
That
global
kills
shutter.
some of the magic of that A7S3.
It's most of the magic, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what I mean. The gap is closed. The A7
Yeah.
V is kind of at the like right now. If I had to start over, and they were like, Korey, you have 12 months of video projects. You have a very limited budget. You can get like a body in that range and a couple of lenses, and then some audio equipment. What are you doing? It's not going to be the A7S III. Even
I
if
mean,
it
they
was
could.
just video, like it's gonna be the A7 V because the autofocus is so much better. The like dynamic range is plenty.
Yeah.
The low light is super close. Like
They would really have to push some technological advancements. Like, I think there's triple native ISO in a couple cameras out there, right? Like, it would
yeah,
have to have
maybe it'd have to do something crazy like that, or it'd have to be like
built-in NDs.
240 frames a second and in
Yeah.
full 4K or something. I don't even know
4K.
if people want that, but like that would be something that would differentiate it. And then you're like, okay, well, if I'm in the sports world, which I think they really use 240, I think it's like up to 360 for like broadcast sports.
The last time I checked, the NFL still uses A7S3s for wide angle end zone stuff.
Yeah, they have them and they broadcast, and yeah, you'll see them like
Yeah.
running around. But I think they're really high end stuff. Like you'll see some of that slow motion is gnarly and it's like super crispy. So those big,
yeah.
those giant broadcast cameras have to be kicking 240 or 360 or something. Like it's super
Yeah.
good. But it's just hard to say. And you know, until Panasonic makes like the world's best L mount camera, I'm probably going to be Sony.
Yeah.
I don't see myself going anywhere. I like my lenses a lot. I love the A9 III for what it is. If somebody wants to buy it from me, I still will sell it though, because it's a crazy amount of money. But you're getting a used price based off of the tariff price because that's an almost $7,000 camera now.
It's tough these days, man.
Well, that's the reason why I'm considering selling it is because the value of it now is more than when I got it,
Mhm.
and so I wouldn't sell it to a friend for that price. But like if
No.
somebody just wanted an A9 III and needed one, they'd get a good price, and I would make a little bit off it. So then
Yeah.
I'd probably just flip it and get an A7 V to be quite honest, and then figure out what other stuff would come out.
Sure.
Because again, I know now, just north of 10 FPS is kind of where I live. Like 15 to 20
Yeah.
FPS for birds is where I need to be. I
Sure.
love the 60 and 120 if I'm doing something really neat, but it's like once every few months something that cool happens. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I happen to know today we're going after a kingfisher. I want 120.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, but we'll see. Maybe that'll change, and I'll like we'll see wolves or something out west, and I'll be like, I want to shoot all of a million photos. I want every perfect frame I can. I'm not going to see wolves again anytime soon, and I'll just snap off a million photos. But we'll see. Is there anything you're looking forward to at all?
I was just thinking about that. I think by the next episode, I'll have gone to San Diego for SCA. I don't travel a whole lot, and I've never been west of where I am now at all. So San Diego should be fun. I think I'm going to bring the ZF, and I might just take one vintage lens. Who knows?
Dang, that could be sweet for a photo share.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Very cool. I'm excited to see some of that. Well, when are you coming back from that? When do you leave and when you
I
come
think
back?
it's like I think it's like April 9th we get on the plane to go, and I think we come back the 12th or 13th. It's like a weekend.
Okay. Well, actually, that's good. So we'll try to get one more episode in before that happens. I forgot that I'm going to be in Florida from like the 8th to the 14th.
Oh,
and then I'm
sweet.
going to
We'll be
be
on at the same time.
then I'm going to be in Texas from the 15th to the 21st or something like that.
Okay, we should probably get an episode in right before then.
Yeah, so we'll do what we can. We'll definitely have one before the end of March. So then we'll probably do a pre-trip episode, and the photo share will be when we come back from those trips.
Sounds
so
good.
you basically have a month and a half to get a good photo share image in, and we'll remind you and we'll talk about it everywhere and you'll know. But I'm really looking forward to that. And now I'm really jazzed to hook somebody up with a cool old lens.
Yeah.
So if that's it, that's all I got for you.
That's it from me. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Go ahead and reach out to us on Instagram and get in the Discord because we're happy to chat with you. That's it.
Absolutely. See you guys.